Kelly Kreusler. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Kelly, can you share the story behind the founding of Crunchi and what inspired you to start a clean beauty brand?
I would love to. We launched Crunchy in 2016, and I launched it with my best friend, Melanie Petchke. And we really launched Crunchy out of a frustration for what was in the marketplace as far as clean beauty at the time. We were both transitioning our lifestyles over to living a more holistic, healthier, non-toxic lifestyle. And we would, switch over our laundry detergent, switch over, our diets, our foods, things like that. And the one area we really struggled was cosmetics. We could not find a brand that was doing clean beauty well. We would find brands that had beautiful ingredients. They had all safe ingredients, nothing potentially harmful in them. The ingredient label looked great. You went to use the product and it was a terrible experience. The foundation would get stuck, it was barely would spread on your face. You would put, eyeshadow on and mascara on, and an hour later, you'd be like, do I even have any on? So we were just super frustrated with the performance out there and wanted to prove that you could have truly clean cosmetics and still have the performance that you loved and had with your conventional products.
And what were you doing right before you started it?
So before we launched Crunchy, Mel and I actually met at a mom's night out, which is hysterical. I went to mom's night out. I didn't know anyone. I was moving to a new part of town and wanted to meet some people. And I ended up sitting right next to Melanie. And we hit it off right away. We had kids the same age. We were both newly pregnant with our second child. And
How
also,
many years ago was this, by the way?
this was okay. So my son is going to turn 12 years ago.
Okay.
So 12 years ago, we met. Yep. And what was the question more? Now I lost my thought.
Yeah. So, like, what were you doing? I always
Oh,
love to
right, what we
learn
were
the
doing. That's
journey.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
So we were both in the healthcare profession. So Melanie was and still is a board certified nurse practitioner. And I was actually in pharmaceutical sales, which is super funny because I was living and leaning towards this, more healthy, non-toxic lifestyle. So we had backgrounds in healthcare and we were both tired of treating people with illness and talking about illness and just so intrigued by the prevention piece of health. And that really bonded us into our friendship.
So you said that, all right, we hit it off. We're both about to become moms. You don't usually meet a lot of people who are about to have babies and also thinking about starting a new business at the same time. Sounds really aspirational. But so how did that happen? You both had your babies, probably talking about the idea during this time. How did you start putting into practice?
Well, it's funny because we were constantly complaining about the lack of options in clean beauty and the lack of performance. And it was actually my husband at the time who said to us, well, why don't you all just create your own? And we were like, no way. We're not chemists. We're not formulators. We're not makeup artists. How could we do that? And he was the one who encouraged us to just start to call different manufacturers, makeup artists, formulators, and just start to learn about how they do this. And let's see if we can put something together. So it was really someone, my husband at the time, who encouraged us to take that next step.
So this part is quite important. So you said that you were going to call makeup artists, manufacturers. Not coming from a chemist background, I like these stories because sometimes I interview founders who had decades of experience because they worked with like a huge beauty brand. So it was kind of second nature to them for them to go and start their own brand. They have all these industry connections. They know where the manufacturers are. But your story, normally it would be super intimidating to people. I imagine where is the manufacturer? How am I going to find them? Makeup artists, how do I find them? Call them up. Will they take my call? So let's learn about that a little bit.
Yeah, looking back on it, it's crazy to think because we really did not have a ton of experience. So we just started to network and to reach out to people. A lot of people said no, not interested at all, don't even want to talk to you. And then we had a few makeup artists that had their own lines or were dabbling in smaller lines that kind of help guide us and help kind of share a little bit about the industry and what they were doing in this project. And one makeup artist we even tried to partner with and say, hey, let's partner with you and build this brand together. She wanted to go in a different direction of more like high definition makeup, not so much the clean route. So the missions didn't align. But we didn't let that discourage us, and we just kept plugging away and talking to people, and finally found a manufacturer who believed in clean beauty and understood what we were trying to do. That was the hardest part, is so many of the manufacturers and the formulators were like, oh yeah, we can do clean. But what they were doing wasn't really clean. It wasn't to our standards of clean. And so that was the hardest piece, of finding someone who truly understood what we were trying to do. And once we found that one manufacturer, we were able to start trialing products, doing a lot of custom formulation back and forth. And then he was able to kind of plug us into some other manufacturers that also had the same philosophy that we had as far as what clean was and using those type of clean ingredients. But it was still a lot of no's, a lot of pressure to compromise and to not stand with our ingredient standards. A lot of times the manufacturers would tell us, you can't do that. It's not possible. And we were like, well, that's why we're here. Because we want to make it possible. That's the whole point. Like, don't you want to join us and make this possible? We're going to prove to the world that you can have clean beauty that performs. Not everyone was as excited about it as we were.
You said that our standards of clean beauty. So I want to understand a little bit more. What were your standards? How did you come up with those standards? And when manufacturers are coming back to you and saying, you can't do it like that, you can't do it like that, how do you build such a conviction to go back to them and say, no, we have to stick with our standards, as opposed to, well, oh, well, since it can't be done, might as well do it the way that it can be done. So that feels like a very strong characteristic to me. And I don't know if a lot of people will have that. So I'd like to understand where you're coming from to come up with those standards and be pretty strict with those.
Yes. And our standards, all the credit goes to Melanie, my partner. She is just a guru when it comes to ingredients and knowledge and research. So she had a standard that was set by her own research. So if a new ingredient came in, or they wanted to introduce a new ingredient for some of our formulations, she would spend the entire night researching it. And if she found any data that showed that it was potentially harmful, it was a no. So that standard was set very early on. And I'll never forget, we met with a manufacturer and we had gone pretty far. We're like super excited. We think we really found a partner. And in the meeting, they said, look, you're going to have to compromise on these ingredients. It's going to be less expensive. It's going to have be faster to the marketplace, all these benefits. Like, everyone does it. You just compromise on these few different ingredients. It's fine. Like, this is how you're going to do it. And we left that meeting, and I'll never forget, we got in the car and I said to Mel, I said, what do you think? And she looked at me and she was like, absolutely not. She said, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right, or we're not going to do it at all. And she set that standard from that day. And we were like, you know what? You're right. If we're going to do this, we're not going to be a greenwasher. We're not going to half do it. We're going to do it right. And if we can't do it right, then we're going to give it our best shot and call it a day.
Well, that's pretty amazing, because that attitude of saying absolutely not the way you said it, I mean, if I'm a potential customer, that immediately comforts me. I can trust these people. They'll fight on my behalf, or, they're not in it just to make money, but they have real convictions in this. Not
Yes.
just saying that it's clean beauty, but they truly care about it. So that's so interesting. So then you found the manufacturer finally that met your standards, and then what happened? What were the first? I'm also interested in the learning, because it seems like there's constant learning going on here. Ingredient learning, manufacturer learning, process learning. So which SKUs did you decide to manufacture first, and what are some of the challenges that you dealt with in the beginning, in the first few months of it?
So we originally launched with, let's see if I can remember all of them, a foundation. It was only like 4 or 5 shades, lip gloss, I think a few brushes, and maybe 3 eyeshadows. I think maybe a mascara as well. That's where we launched. That's what we launched with. And that kind of goes back to the whole thing of, if we can't do it right, we're not going to do it at all. So we stand by that today too. There may be products that we want to bring to market that we haven't, because if we can't do it right, we're not going to do it. Just to have that product, we're going to do it right. If we can't get there, we can't get there. We're going to keep trying. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't a ton of products that we launched with. And it was a lot, before we even launched, it was a ton of trial and error. These are all custom formulations. So it was constantly testing them and then sending feedback and then testing them again and sending feedback and testing them again. Sometimes it really felt like you were just like going in a circle, but it was worth it to get to the formula that we wanted because we really wanted this to perform. We didn't want to just be another clean beauty brand that wasn't performing. We really wanted these products to perform. I can remember testing foundations, and we would get all different shades. So I would test like one half of my face with one shade of foundation and another half with a different shade, just to like make sure they're still, pigment throughout the day, feels good, all that stuff. And so I would look kind of funny, and I would forget that I had it on. And I would go out in public, go pick up my kids from school, and all of a sudden be like, oh my gosh, everyone's looking at me because I have like 2 shades on my face that look really funky.
So when you say perform, what does it mean to not perform?
To not perform means that your product does not last throughout the day. It's breaking you out. It doesn't have the pigments and that you want it to have that will last throughout the day. It doesn't feel good on your skin. It like cakes in your creases and all the things. It doesn't give you the right coverage that you're looking for. There's so many things with the performance, and that's just the cosmetic side. On the skincare side, it's a whole nother thing.
Yeah. Okay. So, now it makes sense. I thought of some of the organic deodorants that don't perform, meaning this smell is still there. So that's an organic deodorant that's not, or natural rather.
And Bora, what happens to you when you start using that? You start to probably go back to your conventional deodorant.
Exactly.
Because it's not working. So that's the whole purpose of Crunchi, is products that actually perform and work.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I understand that better now. Okay. So 3 products to start with. So what have you learned from that? Like if you wanted to go back to the old days, or if you want to give advice to an entrepreneur who's about to start something, how many products is too many? How many products is too little, or too few rather?
I honestly think the sooner that you can launch your product and start to get feedback, the better. Because the best feedback is from the end user, the customer. So the sooner you can kind of get it in their hands to even just test and try, the better. Because then you can make adjustments right away before you do your huge, big bulk order and invest all this money. You already have feedback right away. So I think the sooner you can start that process, the better. When we launched, we didn't have a website. We didn't have a fulfillment center. We filled the orders in my guest bedroom. If you wanted to place an order, you had to call us and give us your cell phone number over the phone. So you don't need all that stuff. We didn't have a huge marketing plan, all that. We just had some products that we were like, gosh, we think these are really good. Let's start sharing them and get some feedback.
And how were you getting the word out in the early days? 12 years ago, so the marketing landscape was a lot different back then.
It was just us sharing with our friends. We launched at a party at my house, and we just invited everyone over to try the products. And that was our launch. And then from then, it was just word of mouth.
Didn't do any advertising or influencers or anything like that?
We did not. We did not. And this was in 2016. And we did use the channel of direct sales. If you're familiar with the direct sales channel, where people can sign up to represent the brand and get paid a commission. It's very similar to affiliate and to influencer, but it's a more of a in-person type of connection that you're making. So we did launch using that and had friends sign up as we call them advocates, clean beauty advocates, that represent the brand and then would share it with others and get paid a commission. So it was really word of mouth that we did it.
Did that work, the direct sales channel? Did it move the needle?
Yes. Yeah, it did. It took off right away. It felt like a lot of times we were riding this tiger hanging on by the tail, it was just like it took off right away. So it was a great way for us to launch at the time without a huge marketing budget and all of this, and really just word of mouth and getting, having that dialogue with the customer too about why clean beauty is important, why you want to, learn to read your ingredients. Now it's so common. Everyone knows what clean beauty is. Well, 9 years ago, that wasn't the case. So there's a lot of education in the sale as well.
Yeah. So then, if folks go to your website now, they're going to see multiple lines. There's makeup, there's skincare, and then there's the new body. But let's just stick with makeup for now, because in the beginning, the first 3-4 products were makeup. How long did it take before you went on to the second category? And when did you know that, okay, this thing is working, let's just add more products to it?
There was never like a aha moment, this thing is working, let's add more products. It was always, I guess we always believed in it and that it was going to work. So it wasn't like we were waiting for some sign or some benchmark to cross to say, okay, we're legit now. We just saw the growth and we're kind of chasing it to get like all the systems in play behind it. I would say, gosh, skincare. I can't remember exactly when we launched skincare. It might have been 2019 or 2020. So only, what is that? 3 years probably after we launched. And really it was just the demand from the customers. When we first started Crunchi, we did not intend to go into skincare. We were really going to stay in the cosmetic space, but we were constantly being asked about skincare. So we started to explore skincare and saw there's a huge need there for clean beauty and clean skincare, and our customers were asking for it. So we met that demand.
But that's a great sign, right? Because 3 years into it, you're only selling makeup slash cosmetics products. There are other clean skincare brands out there where your customers are coming to you and saying, you make my skincare product, as opposed to me going and buying
Yes.
whatever's on the shelves right now. So that's so interesting.
But I think that's important too for anyone who's starting a business or looking to start a business. Sometimes what your vision is may change based on your customer feedback. So it's so important to listen to your customers and what they want and what what their needs are. Because we never considered skincare. Now it's more of our business than our cosmetics. It's a higher
Right.
percentage. Mm-hmm.
And also, they are more expensive, right? I don't know about the margins, but cosmetic stuff is cheaper than skincare stuff is a lot more expensive.
Yes and no. Yeah, it depends on the product.
Right. Well, uh, I just ended up getting some retinol. I'm in the anti-aging world now. My wife made some recommendations. I'm like, that stuff is not cheap. You
Yes,
know?
yes. We'll have to talk about retinol another call with Melanie on, because there's
Yeah.
some good stuff to learn about that ingredient. Yeah.
Yeah. So, when you were getting into skincare, let's talk about the learnings there because it's a completely different world. Probably the manufacturer might have been different, even, right?
Yes. So a lot of times it's different manufacturers, and also it's a different, in some regards, a different team for that too. Looking at just the formulators and the not necessarily the makeup artists, but the estheticians and things like that are kind of consulted in that as well. So it's different. Yeah, it's different in many ways. But our ingredient philosophy is the same, so that doesn't shift.
Can you describe a little bit? Because, when I'm looking at your brand, I see a lot on also sustainability, sustainable packaging. There's the partnership with organizations like 4Ocean, and I see things like the Leaping Bunny certification, which I don't know what it is. Maybe you can, or being EWG verified and things like that. What are those things, and how do they kind of like tie into your standards, which you had established for cosmetics in the early days, but now there's like maybe a new set of standards that kind of align with the general brand's philosophy, but just different ingredients for skincare.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we launched Crunchy, it was all about having safe products without any potentially harmful ingredients that performed. Quickly after that launch, I would say in the next 2 years, we added sustainability as a third pillar, and utilizing glass packaging where we could, paperboard packaging where we could, and really minimizing the amount of plastic that we use. So we add that in as like our third pillar. So now we have three pillars: safety, performance, and sustainability. The sustainability pillar is actually one of the most challenging ones because cosmetics typically are in plastic. Now, we don't like plastic because of the potential for harmful ingredients to leak into the product. We also don't like plastic from the environmental standpoint. So like all of our primary packaging, which means like the tubes and stuff, are glass. Even this guy's glass here, our mascara is glass. And then our secondary packaging, which you can't help, has to be plastic here. We partner with 4Ocean for the amount of plastic that we put out into the world. We partner with them to pull out of the oceans, making us plastic neutral. So there's really no plastic that's coming out from Crunchy, our brand.
In terms of skincare, which products did you focus on? Was it the SPF in the beginning? Because that's the most popular area for skincare, right?
Actually, we did not. And that is one of the most popular, especially for the clean movement, is SPF. We focused on our daily moisturizer, which is Daylight, and then the night cream, which is Nightlight. And that was our original skincare products. And then from there, we've added so many, from our serums to our scrubs to our vitamin C to, yeah, skincare is fun.
So let's talk about that. Crunchi offers a range of products. You maybe pick the highest customer demand ones first, and then how do you go from there? How do you decide which new products to develop and launch and make sure that they kind of align with the next category? Or maybe, I don't know if you're thinking about like these go together. Let's just, I don't know if you're thinking like that when making decisions to launch new products.
Absolutely. I think early on, we were open to all sorts of products and really creating like a lifestyle of toxin-free products. As we've grown as a brand, we recognize the importance of having really innovative, focused product approach and really diving deeper into our products and our category rather than being wider. And so that was a shift for us as far as product development. And we currently have a team. It's really like a team effort as far as figuring out which products to develop next. So we're looking at several things. We're looking at the clean beauty marketplace, what's changing there, where are the needs. We're listening to customer feedback, of course. What is the customer asking for? And we're also looking at any gaps that we have in our current line that we should be filling.
So let's talk about the education of customers. You mentioned in the early days when clean beauty wasn't so popular, you had to educate the customers about clean beauty. What are some of the things that you're doing, and how has that changed now? Customers are more informed, I guess, and also, do they kind of care more, in terms of their buying decisions? Do more people actually pay attention to it more? Like, what does it look like now?
Yeah, so I describe the clean beauty marketplace right now as a messy industry. And what I mean by that is clean beauty has exploded. It's now a multi-billion-dollar phenomenon. And there are new brands that are entering it every day. There's conventional brands that are entering it as well. And with that, we're seeing a disturbing trend of more pretenders and greenwashers. So it's making the clean beauty space incredibly messy, especially if you're a consumer trying to figure out what is truly a clean brand and you really care about the ingredients that you're putting on your skin and your face. It's hard to know who to trust and what to believe. There's so much misinformation out there. There's mixed messaging. There's questionable claims all the time. Marketing gimmicks. A lot of times people will say natural, will say clean. Well, there's no regulation to that. So that doesn't really mean anything. There's no one to check to say, what does natural mean? What is, especially in cosmetics, food's different. So for consumers, it's super frustrating and a harder marketplace. So in some ways, more people are aware of clean beauty, but the negative is they're confused when they're going to shop to figure out what really is clean beauty. What does clean beauty mean? It means something different to each brand.
Mm-hmm. Well, so can you give us some tips as a consumer? Let's say I'm trying to differentiate between a pretender, a greenwasher, and an authentic clean brand. How do I do this? Give me some tips.
So there are some great organizations out there. EWG Verified is actually one that you just mentioned. So they do a fantastic job of scrubbing the ingredient list and then giving a rating on that product and then verifying it from a safety perspective. So the EWG rating verified system, the verified system is a great, easy way for consumers to see if a product is safe or not right away. And we actually just had EWG at our conference in January, and they're just phenomenal partners as far as the level of research that goes into their verification program and the amount of scientists on their team. I was really, really impressed and just super proud to be verified by them and a partner with them. Mm-hmm. So that's a great, easy solution. The other solution is to learn how to read your ingredient labels. That's a whole other call. We can absolutely come back, Bora, and talk about that. But there's a lot that you want to kind of be able to look for in your ingredients that you want to avoid.
Yeah. Kelly, so let's talk about marketing a little bit. In the early days, you said that it started with word of mouth, friends, and the direct sales channel. Let's fast forward a few years, and let's say in the last 2, 3 years, or just even in the late 2010s and early 2020s, what was working for you, and what is working these days?
So for us, what really has worked is our direct sales channel is still flourishing. And I think it's because there's that educational piece. We do it really differently compared to other companies in that channel, in that we lead with the education, talking about the education of products, teaching people how to ingredient read and why this is important. And so by leading with that education, it really builds that trust. So now consumers feel like not only did they find a trusted brand, but they also found it someone that they could trust as an advisor to help them with this lifestyle. So that's been really successful for us. We've also dabbled in a few different things as far as PR, meta ads, let's see, some different like collabs and partnerships. I would say we've had like limited success with those. And I think it's a matter of just finding the right partner for that can understand your brand and goals and be able to match that.
And for the creators who are watching and listening, what do you look for when you're looking to collab with creators?
A lot of it is making sure that they align with our mission of clean and performance or the standards. So it's just making sure there's alignment there as far as the understanding there, because we really want one of our goals for the next 3 to 5 years is to become the most recognized, trusted brand in clean beauty. So not just to be recognized, but to be recognized for being trusted. So people know when they see Crunchi, they can trust that it's safe and it's going to perform. They don't have to worry. They don't have to do ingredient research. They know it's safe and they know it's going to perform. So we want to make sure that we're aligning with content creators that can help us build that trust even further. So really making sure that we're aligned on our mission.
Kelly, I have an interesting question for you. If you were to start all over again, a new brand, knowing what you know now, everything that you've learned, difficulties, pushing a rock uphill sometimes, what category would you start a new brand in today in 2025? And why?
I would say for right now, where the industry is and where I see the future going, it would be in body. I think we spend, and I'm guilty of this myself, we spend so much time and attention on our skin from the neck up. We forget that we have skin from the neck down that needs attention. It needs quality ingredients. It needs to be treated just as well as our faces. And I think as women get older, you start to realize that. But I think people are starting to realize that. And I think that's really going to be the next wave, is having really quality body care products. And so that is where I would start if I were starting now. And that actually is where we are headed with Crunchi as part of our expansion into body this year. So it's going to be really exciting to share that, to kind of expand into that category more.
Yeah, so you have the luxury of starting a new brand as a category of your company.
Yeah, kind of.
Kelly, my final question, what are the top 2 problems giving you a headache right now, and top 2 priorities you're excited about for the year?
I would say the top 2 problems giving me a headache right now. I think stepping back and looking kind of higher level from the brand perspective, and I touched on this earlier, is just the frustration that we have of seeing brands that people think are clean or marketed as clean, but really truly are not. And the frustration there of being able to really show like, hey, this is clean. This is what clean really looks like. And being able to differentiate ourselves in this busy, kind of messy marketplace. It's frustrating to see that and to see brands. I don't want to fault them or talk badly about any brands, but it's just frustrating to see people advertise for something that they're not truly doing it correctly, and for consumers to be kind of fooled by that. That's one of the things that's most frustrating for us to see. So really just figuring out how we can break through that and get to the customer. The second thing I think would just be, our team has grown so much since we launched. In the beginning, it was just us. Now we've got a huge team. And so it's really figuring out how to invest in that team, how to develop them. We've got some amazing corporate team members. And as we grow, we keep adding people. So we want to keep our culture, this close-knit culture of entrepreneurship that really drove our success. We don't want to become a bureaucratic culture where, my friend down in Crunchi support who's dealing with customers can't call us and say, hey, I recognize this trend or I'm seeing this issue so we can jump on it right away. I don't want them to have to go through like 10 hoops to get to us. So trying to keep that culture alive as we grow and help develop our people that have been with us for so long into these new leadership roles.
Mm-hmm. And I know that you're excited about developing the body line this year, right?
Yes, we are very excited about body. I truly believe that is going to be the next big wave in the clean movement and just in the movement as far as beauty as well. So really excited. We've got some amazing products coming for body. So very excited for that this year.
Kelly Kreusler, thank you for sharing your journey with me.
This was wonderful. Thanks so much for having me, Bora.